Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
Well, welcome to episode 43. Today we're going to talk about a process that you can use for your business to really get into those hard-to-get customers or in those hard-to-get markets. And it goes back to Greek mythology when the city of Troy, an impenetrable city, was being attacked by the Greeks. And the Greeks could not take over the city. It was just impossible. The walls were too high. It was too fierce a fight. And so in the middle of the night, it looked like they had retreated. And in fact, they had left a gift for the citizens of Troy, which was a very, very large statue of a horse. The citizens of Troy were overwhelmingly happy that the Greeks had given up, gone back to Greece, and that now they, in defeat, had left this wonderful gift of this giant statue, a Trojan horse. So they took this Trojan horse and they drug it into their gate, and they celebrated this victory they had over the Greeks. That night they went to sleep, and as they slept, the Greeks, who had embedded themselves into the Trojan horse, opened the Trojan horse, came out, overpowered the city, and took over Troy. And thus became the term, beware of Greeks bearing gifts. Now, why does this have so much to do with us in business? The question I want to ask each of you in your businesses today, and if you're in sales today, do you have a Trojan horse? I'm going to give you some examples of some Trojan horses I've used over the years. So many years ago when I was in the tire business, it was so competitive. You could not get in. You'd go call on people. People were trying to sell tires, the price, it was like, well, we can buy it $1.50 cheaper and all this other stuff. So I tried to sit around with my teams and go, what really matters to the customers? And what I found out was tire cost. And everybody was selling price of tires to control tire cost, or at least that's what was apparent. What I discovered was air pressure was the single biggest thing that was causing increased tire cost, or lack of good air pressure was causing tire costs in all these major fleets across our region. So we went in and we said, would we be able to, if we could help you for absolute free, reduce your tire cost 20% with you buying from your current supplier, so you buy from whoever you want, pay the price you pay, and we'll cut your cost by 20%. Would you be interested? For free. Well, of course, people looked at us like we were crazy. I mean, you're not going to sell me a tire. I can buy from my current vendor because they're probably pretty good, and you're going to cut my cost by 20%, and you're going to do it for free. Well, we just had customer after customer agree to do that. How did we do this? We would, instead of making sales calls, our team would go in and we would check random air pressures on these fleets. And then we would record these random air pressures, and they would become variances of the standard air pressure that should be on these tires for the loads they were carrying. When the air pressure was correct, which it never was ever correct in most of these fleets, as we got our competitors to work on getting the air pressure correct, the tire costs kept going down. Well, we were managing our competitors, and they subsequently would always get upset, or the customer would go, wow, Dean, your team did exactly what they said they would do. You never changed the prices of our tires. You let us use our current supplier, and you, in fact, reduced our cost 20%. Would you help us? When customers say, would you help us? That's game, set, match. Now they're your customer. Another example, we had a company, and one of the big things was always price. And we were out there competing. This was in the recession. Everybody was complaining about price. The other guy was cheap. I'm sure he was complaining about our price. And so we started asking customers, they were all talking about price too. We got to get it cheaper. We got to have a better price. And we started really listening to the customer. And what we found was the most important thing to this customer was safety, because safety had the biggest cost impact on them. So we came up with an idea to get to customers. Why don't we become the safety experts? So we started holding safety seminars. Now here's the real Trojan horse here. Now listen carefully. When we would hold these safety seminars, we invited all our competitors. And we've invited OSHA, which is the Occupational Safety Hazard Association, what's a government thing for safety. And we would invite them. And our safety experts would give generic, non-branded safety tips and ideas on how to run safer operations. Well, when we invited our competitors, it like freaked everybody out because we served lunch and we had coffee, and the competitors were like, what? And they would come to these things and sit with their customers. Well, guess what? We subsequently became the safety experts. We started producing safety videos. All of a sudden, some major clients, in fact, one major client called me and said, could you come with your team? And this was our largest potential client, by the way, that we did very little business with. Could you come with your team and speak to 300 plus of our senior people on just safety? Wait a minute. The head CEO of one of our major customers is inviting us in to meet 300 people we couldn't meet in 20 million years. And he's going to introduce us as the safety experts in the industry, not that our product's better than the other guy or whatever. And we're going to get to interact with all these people. Well, we went down and we did it. And oh, by the way, since I was coming down at 9 o'clock that morning, it was a while away, the CEO asked me if I wanted to have dinner with he and all the C-suite. This is a major corporation. So now, not only was I going down to help them, I was getting to have one-on-one time with the senior executives of this major potential client for hours, and they were buying me lunch or dinner in this case. Well, we went down. We did a great job doing this kind of generic safety. They're asking questions. We had cards made for safety and all this. And just to move the clock forward, they subsequently became our biggest customer. And it was all predicated on this Trojan horse. And then lastly, I was involved in another industry, the condominium industry, and our particular company was having a hard time getting in front of customers. So we created this program, this volunteer program, where we provided data and information. And this, by the way, happens to be one of the handouts that we created. And it was 10 most important things you need to know. And we created this brand called the Condo Coaches. And it was for volunteers. And so what would happen is I would do this radio show and this podcast, like you're listening to a podcast, and we streamed it all over the state of Florida. Well, suddenly I'm getting calls by people that would never allow us to even introduce ourselves, asking us, hey, could you come down and see my board of directors? Hey, could you come down and speak to 100 regional board members of this area about the important things you know, different topics we had? And of course we would say, absolutely. We would go down as volunteers and get to know them. And all of a sudden they go, what do you guys do? And we said, well, we did what we did. And they go, wow. I said, but we're not here for that. We're here to help you. We were here to help you with air pressure. We were here to help you with safety. And we were here to help you with your information you need to be as a board member and all the things you need to know to be an effective condo association. In every one of those cases, those became our Trojan horse. They became our intro that created credibility and allowed us the successes of being able to go into clients, and clients subsequently asking us after they got to know us, can you help us? When a client asks you, can you help us? That's game, set, match. Now you're going to do business. Now you're going to have the customer. And more importantly, you're going to have this customer because you've helped them and they know that you're an asset to them as not only a vendor, but as one of these experts, whether it was the air pressure, the safety, the condominium aspects we dealt with, whatever those various things are, they knew that you were helpful and they invited you in, just like the folks in the city of Troy invited the Greeks in via their Trojan Horse. Have a great week. If you want more information, reach out to Dean at deanacres.com. If you've got any questions or thoughts on this, reach out, Dean at deanacres.com, and always our website, www.deanacres.com. And again, are your clients wheeling in your Trojan horse within their castles? So let's go out, make your Trojan horse, have success, and have a great week.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanacres.com. Also, visit us at www.deanacres.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download. Thanks again.